Welcome to another live edition of the WiseTake DFS podcast. This is CK013. You could find me on Twitter at CK_013. And yes, you can see I am joined here by Matt Amon. You could find him on Twitter at MattAmon123. And obviously a newcomer and already a regular. We got Patio Joe. You guys know him already. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe Ref. Gentlemen, how was your weekend?
It was wonderful. Mine was great.
Can't complain, man. Mine was okay too. I didn't play any DFS. I had to be like, Mr. Daddy daycare all day. So
family comes first as always, right, my man? Well, the good news is you guys are you're here on this wonderful Sunday night. Well, for you guys, I got the Cali guys on. See, for me, it's 11:36 over on the coast. For you, you guys are just like, you're just getting your little like me time in right now. I'm well past that, man. It's Sunday. Tired.
We both just put our kids to bed. My daughter just showed up in my office 2 minutes ago, so fingers crossed she doesn't show up any second again.
That's what I mean. You guys are like ready to party now. The kids are in bed.
Oh yeah.
Party time.
Oh yeah.
We got another like 2 hours in you before you're passing out from the day, right?
That's right. I mean, every night they go to bed, I'm just like, oh, it's just a big sigh of relief, and then it's just start looking at tomorrow's slate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So real quick, guys, before we break down the slate, we had on Friday's show we had an interesting comment over on the YouTube channel. So we wanted to go ahead and address that because there's so many different ways that we can go on, and obviously Patio Joe and Matt over here both. They heavily utilize stacks in their and they understand stacks in their tournament strategy, as do I. So I wanted to elaborate because I thought it was a good question, and I thought for a lot of for a lot of these newer players, it's important to know these terms. You read these, every article you read has the term stack in it, but if you don't fully understand what a stack is or how a stack works, then how are you supposed to utilize it to your advantage? So so here's the thing. I'm not going to ask it piece by piece. It was a bunch of questions, but I'm just going to kind of say one thing. We're going to start with Matt, and then Joe, I want you to elaborate next. Okay, so the question was basically on stacks. So Miko151 was asking if we could elaborate on stacks. Why not take the best 4 hitters on a team? Do you have to pick players that are all in a row in the batting order? And are stacks always 4 players from a team? So Matt, why don't you go first? I know there's a bunch of stuff that you can probably go on and on about the stack. So go ahead and just get us started and give us a good overview.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can go with this question, but basically stacking is really important because of correlation in baseball, right? So when a team scores a lot of runs, everybody on their team benefits from a fantasy perspective. Right, so you get a walk, you get a hit, you get a walk, you get a home run, and all those points multiplied, right? So it's very important that you stack because those correlations are really strong, and especially in tournaments. Not so much in cash games, but in tournaments it's really important because when the team you stack scores 10 runs, then you have a jillion fantasy points, right? And it's really hard to predict. This player is going to do really good, this player is going to do really good, etc. So it's much easier to just say, I think the Tigers are going to score 10 runs today, and then pick 4 or 5 guys from the Tigers. Now, do you have to play 4 guys? Do you have to play 5 guys, depending on the site? For me, I play as many as I can because I believe the correlations are that strong. So in GPPs, I'm on DraftKings, I'm always stacking 4. On FanDuel, always on DraftKings, always 5, on FanDuel, always 4. And then for me, most of the time in tournaments, I'm also bringing it back with the 3 stack. Right? So I'm stacking 5 from one team and I'm stacking 3 from another team because, like I said, I believe the correlations are that strong. So do you have to stack them in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? The answer to that is sometimes. Most of the time I'm doing 100 lineups. So let's say I'm stacking Arizona 20 times, right? So I'm going to stack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, et cetera, around the horn. But if you're only doing one team, then the answer depends on, pitching, it depends on handedness, it depends on price, it depends on a ton of things. So, she asked, should you just take the best 4 hitters from the team. I mean, obviously, ideally, the answer would be yes, but salary is a thing, right? So let's say if you can afford 2 cheap pitchers and you can get the 4 best bats, then you do it. And I know this is a long-winded answer, but it's there's a lot to talk about here. But anyways, sometimes you see a right-handed pitcher and you say, well, I want to take all the lefties against that. So it might be 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 in the lineup or whatever. But I guess I'll let Joe go. But yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways. But yeah, you definitely should be stacking is the bottom line.
Okay. All right. What you got, Joe? Anything to add?
Yeah, I'll give a good example. I agree with everything that Matt said. Stacking Friday night, I had about 20 points on my team going into the 7:00 game in Arizona, and the Arizona Diamondbacks on Friday night scored 8 runs in the first inning, and I had the 1, 2, 3, 4 hitters. By the end of the first inning, I had about 125 points. So I had almost 100 points in one inning, just from that stack alone. So that's just showing you how the correlation. Stacking basically is, like Matt said, it's easier to identify teams that are in good positions rather than individual players. And obviously, here's another wrinkle is, like Matt said, ideally you want to stack the top 5 hitters in the lineup. But if you believe that everybody else in the tournament is going to be doing that also, you need to maybe get a little different and maybe stack, if it's an American League team, maybe you stack 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, or you do 6, 7, 8, 9. It's just a way of differentiating yourself from somebody else, because although it's not as optimal to play the lower guys in the lineup, they can just as much as the top of the lineup. So I hope that kind of gives you just a little bit of a example on how to stack, ways to stack. There's ways to do it. You could stack a whole game where I'm stacking 4 guys on one team and 4 guys from the other, and then picking a pitcher and rolling with that game. That's the last couple days I said it's the double stack. That's what I said. Where I have both teams. I like both teams going against a pitcher. So yeah. So I don't know. What do you have to say, Chris?
Well, I think that obviously there's a lot of different ways we can go, and we definitely plan on doing a video at another point just about stacks and kind of showing the process. We have one up already with Matt and how he approaches his multi-entering with stacks. But yeah, I think it's interesting because what is a stack, right? Like, you hear the term stack, you hear mini stack. I don't think like a stack it's not compelled to, just because I say I'm stacking a team, I might not decide to play all 4 players. Maybe there's only 3 I want. Maybe there's only 1 I want. And maybe in a situation, obviously the whole purpose of a stack and why it's beneficial is the fact that you're maximizing your scoring by correlation. One guy hits another, it doesn't just affect his, you don't just get points for him. Now the guy in front of him who scores a run gets a point, the guy behind him who's going to hit him home gets a run, so which equals a fantasy point. So to me, like, you can't limit yourself, a stack, I have to play 4 players. No, if you like 3, the more games that you feel comfortable with targeting, take 2 or 3 guys. Just like I like to do mini stacks all the time, because you know what? It's interesting in the chat. I see that there's a nice little debate here about whether stacks are effective enough to win tournaments on a regular basis. And I think that sometimes you see, you'll see maybe 2 or 3 mini stacks. Does that count as a stack? Like, would you count that as a stack? Or maybe you see like 1 stack. He got 3 or 4 guys from one team, and the rest are all one-offs. Like, was that a stack that won him a tournament? So I think there's just so many different ways. What I would recommend if you're new, start off by picking the player you like the most, and then just picking the guys around him. You don't have to. They don't have to be in a row. Pick the guys that are closest to him in the best spot. Just to start off with that. What do you guys think? You think that'd be a good starting point if you're starting off, if you're new to MLB DFS in general?
For me, I think you find the pitchers that you think that are the worst, and then you pick your favorite players off those teams. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely.
what I say, some people talking about stackings don't necessarily win tournaments, and the tournaments that I've won just recently, I've had a stack in there. I don't say the whole team is a stack, but I will have maybe one main stack and then a mini stack, maybe 4 2. And then the key sometimes to winning those GPPs are those one-offs, those guys that you just need for salary relief that have no relation to the stack that you have. And when they go off for 30 points, and then your stack goes off, that's when you win. So it's definitely a key to have the right one-offs in any stack. Yeah, you're right. I think it's very rare to see a game stack win a GPP unless both correct the highest scoring game of the night.
Yeah, for sure. Matt, anything to add?
No, I mean I think we covered it a lot.
All right, sounds good to me. All right, so now that we're all warmed up here from our little weekend off and the family madness, well, for you guys anyway, let's go ahead and let's break down Monday's main slate. Not a lot of games, so we can talk about them a little bit here, and we're live and we got the chat to keep us occupied. So I'm gonna try my best to pay attention, but sometimes the things I see in this chat, they get me a little off. So anyway. We got Jeff Hoffman of the Colorado Rockies visiting Jared Eichhoff of the Philadelphia Phillies. Looks like we could have some rain. I'm seeing about 53%, but I think Matt has a better source than me. So Matt, start us off. What are we doing here?
Yeah, so I see for weather, it's like 40% chance of rain through the whole game, but it's not really thunderstorms, and it looks kind of fine at the back end. So I think this game is going to be okay. Let's see. As far as the pitching goes, Eichhoff is a guy that's really good against righties and not very good against lefties. And let's see, I'm trying to think of Colorado's lineup. They have some pretty good lefties: Blackman, Cargo, Parra. But they kind of have some good righties too. So it's kind of interesting. I think Eichhoff's probably a little bit too good to stack against, and he might be an interesting option at his price on DraftKings as a starting pitcher too. 6,900 seems really fair for him. But the Rockies have been heating up, so it's kind of an interesting spot right off the bat here. I think I'd have more interest in Eichhoff than the Rockies. And then on the other side, Jeff Hoffman. I don't know a lot about Jeff Hoffman. Has one start this year against the Dodgers, and he was pretty decent. So I'm going to have to dive a little bit deeper into him. But my first thought is, maybe it's a cheap price, and there's going to be some expensive offenses that we want later on. So I'm going to have to look a little bit more into Jeff Hoffman and see if we can use him, because Philly is not a lineup that scares me. But it is a good ballpark for hitting, so I wish I could have better analysis than this off the bat, but that's kind of where I'm at so far.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Well, what I like to do all the time, the Eichhoff doesn't scare me. So if you're going to tell me that I get the Rockies on the road with weather concerns, people are going to be scared off of them. The Rockies are always low owned. They can always go off for 5 to 10 runs, just like they did. I think it was Friday night against Reds?
Yeah, 12. Did they get 12?
12, yeah. I mean, if you stacked the Rockies on Friday night, you were winning some money. Because Arenado, Blackman, and LeMahieu had 37 points on Friday night. So, and they always go low owned when they're on the road. So, and Eichhoff is not a pitcher I'm scared of. So, stack Rockies if you want. They'll definitely contrarian.
Yeah, I think those are both interesting takes. I like this Eichhoff guy. Now I don't love him, and I don't love his park. But I think that he can be good. I think he has the tools to be good. So I'm not crazy. But one thing I'll say, am I gonna play him on FanDuel? Probably not. Just because there's a couple guys I really can't get off of, and I could see the merit, but you also have weather concern here, and it's the ballpark, it's the Rockies, they've been hot. But I'll say this: if you're gonna pick on Eichhoff, do it to I would recommend the lefties. I know it's an obvious platoon split play, but it means more so. He's pretty good against righties. He's got over the last 2 years at home, he's got a 264 WOBA to righties. Compare that to 337 to lefties. So if you're gonna pick on him, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, I do think he's good enough. I would try to stick with the lefties here, and guys like Blackman, Carlos Gonzalez has been red hot, and that's pretty much all I'll say. But on the other side, I don't know enough about Hoffman. I really don't. I know Philly's been gone a while and they're just now getting home, so that's pretty much it. But other than that, I'm with you guys. Anything to add, or should we move on?
I'm good.
I'm ready to move on.
All right, we got Jason Vargas, the lefty from the Kansas City Royals, visiting Michael Pineda of the New York Yankees. Looks like we could have a little bit of rain here too. 62% is what I'm saying. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I see about the same. I really hope this game, like the weather clears out and it's going to be fine. Michael Pineda. In this spot, there's nobody else that I really want on the slate, so I'm hoping it plays good. He's been really good. His strikeout stuff has been good. His walks are really low. His soft contact has been good. So I like Pineda in this spot, especially because Kansas City stinks. So I have a lot of interest in Pineda if it plays. On the other side, we saw Vargas get exposed in his last outing against these very same Yankees. The Yankees scored 6 runs off him in 4 innings, and now they get a big ballpark upgrade into Yankee Stadium, which we know is much better for hitting than Kauffman, where the last game was played. So definitely no Vargas for me. The Yankees are hitting the ball well. They're a good offense, and I like the Yankees here a lot. And then no Kansas City bats for me.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
I like he said, I love the bats for the Yankees. One person I want to take a particular just kind of look at that goes under the radar, and he will probably play tomorrow. And if he's playing up in the order, he's almost going to be a lock for me, and that's Aaron Hicks. When he's played this year, he has done really, really well. Let's see, 31, 18, 18, 21, 50, 18, 15, 25. That's just since May 2nd. He's had thrown in a couple of zeros and 6 and a 3. But the guy, for his price, was almost going to get you at least 3.5 times value. And when you're playing in cash games, that's almost what you want. So if Aaron Hicks happens to be batting higher up in the lineup tomorrow, I'm gonna have him on every one of the cash games.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm with you guys. I think Pineda, if the weather holds up, Pineda is going to be an attractive, appealing play to most of the field because it makes sense. He's a high strikeout guy. Matt, like you said, the Royals offensively are not very good this year. So, I think it makes perfect sense. But you know what? Vargas is interesting. Tournaments only. I would never play Vargas in a cash game setting. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not even saying I like Vargas. I came across a couple stats that I thought were interesting, and I wanted to share with you guys. So Vargas over his last 20 starts, he's got a let me see here, a road WOBA of 265. Granted, he's going to be in Yankee Stadium, which is a terrible pitcher's park. He's got a 264 WOBA to lefties on the road and 265 to righties on the road. It's impressive, and listen, it's 20 games. It's not the largest sample size. Don't get me wrong. But even more interesting, Michael Pineda's swinging strike rate in 2017 is 13.7%, which is great. It's very high. Vargas's is 12.2%. It's like I don't like the fact that he's good because I already had a preconceived notion that he was not. So I'm still having a hard time accepting that he's good. With that said, I do trust Las Vegas, and I see that Pineda is a pretty large favorite there, and this is a bad ballpark, and the Yankees are pretty hot. So I just wanted to mention that about Vargas, but I do like the Yankees bats here, and I'm on board with Pineda. I think he's certainly a safe way to go, even in that stadium, assuming the weather holds. Let's see. We got Kyle Gibson of the Minnesota Twins visiting Ubaldo Jimenez of Fuegos, Baltimore Orioles. Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I think this game is really easy to break down. No pitchers and all the bats. Both these pitchers are really bad. Ubaldo's a gas can. He's given up a lot of home runs, a ton of hard contact, walking a lot of people. I mean, just all the stuff he likes. So I love Minnesota. And then Kyle Gibson, back in the day, he was a kind of an extreme ground ball pitcher, but it seems like a little bit less of that this year. He's having control issues. It seems like Baltimore's heating up a bit. So, yeah, all the bats in this game. I mean, I could go down the list of all the guys I like, but it's all the normal suspects. Your Machados, your Chris Davis, your, Sano's been crushing the ball, Dozier, and, Kepler and all those guys. Yeah, love this game.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I echo his sentiments. I don't love the Minnesota bats as much. I mean, I definitely love Dozier and Sano, but I would like definitely I want the side the Orioles. Kyle Gibson, he's a gas can, and Ubaldo is Ubaldo. And so yeah, this game is very attractive to me.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I love the bats here. I might have a little bit more interest in the Twins than you do, Joe. I'm with you on the Orioles, but I like the Twins a little bit here, and I think you can get some value. Not necessarily, you don't necessarily need it because we only have a couple pitchers that are expensive. But I like the Twins here. They've been swinging the bat okay. They get a little bit of a park boost going to Baltimore. Ubaldo's terrible, and I know at some points he was playable, especially last year towards the end of the season. He was playable. I don't think that's the case anymore. His swing and strike rate is significantly down. His strikeouts ain't coming to him as much. He gets strikeouts more so when the umpire's on his side. So I don't get me wrong. I love the Orioles. I'm with you, but I like the Twins also here. I think I do have some interest in some of these Twins bats. Even Dozier and Sano, you mentioned them. I like them too, but I think I also like Kepler. Maybe even a Kenny Vargas. I have a little more interest in this team. Anything?
Jason Castro, nice punt catcher.
Yeah, absolutely, got some power for sure.
And they'll be the less owned of the two by a wide margin.
Right, correct. Yes, I definitely agree. One thing about Kyle Gibson though is he's like, listen, I don't want to say he's good at anything, but he doesn't get. Let's just say he doesn't get roughed up as much against righties. The lefties typically there's a pretty big split there. We're talking over the last 2 years on the road. We're talking a 353 versus lefties and a 290 versus righties. So, listen, I'm not saying don't take Manny Machado against the guy. I think Manny Machado could still crush this guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that there's not as many lefties on this team. However, there's a lot of lefties on the opposing team, which is going to face Ubaldo. So I love the bats here too. I'm just making a little bit of a case for the Twins over there. Let's see. We got Josh Tomlin of the Cleveland Indians visiting Scott Feldman of the Cincinnati Reds. Go ahead, Matt.
Hold on. And I'm chatting. He says if I play Vargas over Crush, then I'm a fish.
Vargas
I was just about to say Vargas over Chris Davis, you're a fish. And if price wasn't a thing, and if ownership wasn't a thing, then he would be right. But both of those.
Listen, if I'm playing a cash game and I have two choices, and it's either Chris Davis or it's Vargas, it's obviously going to be Chris Davis. But if you're talking tournaments and you need to find a way to get different because you're competing against 50,000 people or whatever, then you're going to have to take the guy that may be a little less ugly but still in a good spot. And Vargas is definitely a lot more ugly, but he's still in a good spot. It's Ubaldo in Baltimore. So I'm with you, Matt.
Right. So on to this game. Another game, and this is another reason I hope Pineda can play. That he definitely know on these pitchers. And as I think about this real quick, Josh Tomlin is an extreme fly ball pitcher. He's been getting hit really hard lately. Tampa just crushed him in his last start, and I just love Cincinnati. I think they're gonna be my favorite stack of the day. And I know we have an Arizona coming up that has the highest team total, and they're going to be super popular. But for me, just right off the bat, I love Cincinnati. I love this ballpark. It's going to be less owned than Arizona. And then on the other side, Scott Feldman has been decent this season. He ran into that wind day in Chicago in his last start, and he wasn't very good. But I don't want to pick on Cleveland with right-handers, so certainly not Feldman. And then, of course, Cleveland in the same ballpark is very interesting. They do lose a DH in this game, obviously, so they'll be losing either Edwin or Santana, so that hurts them a little bit. But you still have to like Cleveland in this spot. So all the bats in this game, I do think I like Cincinnati a little bit more, but I don't mind Cleveland either.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Here it is. My double stack of the night. That's right. This is the double stack. This is when you get the cheese, the burger, then another cheese, and then another burger. This is almost as juicy. Use like an In-N-Out 4x4. All right? You want all the hitters in this game. All right? Anyone. You want to go Gomes down at the bottom for catcher? That's fine. You can do that. All right? If you want to go to the top, you got Lindor. You got Kipnis that's now leading off. All right? You got E5. You got Santana. And then on the other side, you got Votto, Hamilton, Cozart, Suarez, Schebler, Duvall. Oh my God, there's too much here. All right, this is like a 4x4. All right, dude, I'm telling you guys, stack this game. The pitchers are terrible. All right, hopefully the weather holds up. It seems to always be raining in Cincinnati. So I'm telling you, and then you're gonna have some good value too. Not all these players are priced that high. Just look, do your research, and stack this game. Oh,
Love it. I love the enthusiasm, man. Think of him my second win right now, man. That's all you, Joe. That's all you, man. That was awesome. I'm with you guys 100%. Love the bats here. I don't see any reason. A couple guys on this red side, man. I really like Cozart. Tomlin gets roughed up by righties a little bit too. So obviously Votto is obviously in a great spot. But Cozart, Duval, I think this is a great spot for Duval, who looked horrible today. I played him all weekend. He looked terrible, but I think he wakes up here. So I'm with you guys, man. I'm all over the bats on both sides of this game. All right, we got JC Ramirez of Mats, Los Angeles Angels.
Of Anaheim.
Visiting Jake Odorizzi of the Tampa Bay Rays. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I think I have interest in the pitchers in this game. There's not many pitchers you love. There's a lot of expensive bats to pay for, and I think the pitchers on both sides are interesting here. Odorizzi's a pretty good pitcher. He's better at home. He's better against righties. The Angels are very right-handed. They're not a very good offense, even though they crushed your Mets today. But that was Tommy Milone, so we're gonna give them a pass here. But
that was
I like Odorizzi. Yeah, but I like Odorizzi a lot in this spot. JC. JC's been decent. The strikeouts haven't been there in his last starts, but I kind of believe in him from watching him. He's been kind of efficient. He's been keeping the ball on the ground. The hard contact's been, pretty decent. Tampa strikes out, of course, a ton, so we like that. Of course, it's a very dangerous matchup. Tampa has a lot of power, but like I said, they strike out a ton. So I think JC's a good, tournament flyer. I wouldn't do it in cash. But I have interest in both the pitchers in this spot. And then on the bat side, like I said, JC has been decent, but he still, can get tagged. And Tampa has a lot of power, a lot of lefties in this lineup. So a Tampa stack here, I think, is in play for sure.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I think of all the pitchers that are the ultimate GPP tomorrow, it's Ramirez.
Yeah.
Everybody else, it's all the other pitchers are like, I have no interest in them. But Ramirez is the one guy. It's your qualifier team, something like that. So, you really, really want to differentiate yourself. Go with Ramirez. He does have that upside. On the other side, though, like I said, you can stack those Tampa bats, and the Angels have been heating up. They played a good weekend. So this is a game probably I will stay.
I'm sorry, you cut it at the end. A game you would probably.
I'm probably going to stay away from.
I gotcha. Yeah. I can understand that for sure. Any pitcher that has any kind of strikeout upside against the Rays has to be considered in tournaments. I think you guys are right on with Ramirez. It's not necessarily a play on Ramirez. It's more so a play against the Rays, seeing as how they strike out so much. And I will say one thing, though. I think Odorizzi is interesting. I don't know if I could pull the trigger on FanDuel because he doesn't have the upside as some of the other guys I have my eyes on. But on DraftKings, how much is he on DraftKings, man? Any idea?
He is 8,300.
Oh, wow. On DraftKings, too? That's what he is on FanDuel. Okay, so maybe he's a little expensive. But if he was cheaper, over the last 2 years, he does have a 270 WOBA at home. I'm sorry, a 295 WOBA at home, which is 2.51% better than his road WOBA. So if you're going to take Odorizzi, you typically want to take him at home. I finally joined on the Matt Amon pitchers against Angels little bandwagon there. So I'm probably not going to go there. I like these other pitchers better, but like you were just saying, Joe, sometimes in a qualifier you really have to get funky, and I wouldn't be surprised if you want to save some money and go with Odorizzi just because the pitching options are so. It's pretty much like pay up or take a chance, right?
Yeah, and if you're going to want to stack these expensive offenses, you're going to have to take a chance somewhere. You can't just play whoever you want.
Right, absolutely, and And just going over some, I see JA said Trout is the best player. Yes, Mike Trout is the best player in baseball. Yes.
I do want to say I almost never play Trout just because the Angels. I love Mike Trout, he's my favorite player, but I almost never play him because the Angels' offense is so bad. I never want to stack them. And then a lot of times when the Angels are in good spots or they're like in the late slate, like I don't want to play Trout because he's like 75-80% owned, so it's just like silly.
Yeah.
So I almost never play him, but today was a day where I was like, I have to have him. Like it's the first time all year I have to have him because Tommy Milone stinks, and there's so many good spots I think he'll go overlooked. So I had a lot of Trout today, and he was good.
Yeah, I think you picked the right day to do that.
Tommy Milone day, that was a good day.
Yeah. It wasn't a good day for me, but I know it was a good day for Matt Amon.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. We got Garrett Cole of the Pittsburgh Pirates against Michael Fultonevich of the Atlanta Braves. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, this is your standard weather in Atlanta game where it's 50% thunderstorms the whole game. Which always makes me nervous for pitchers because we've seen a couple times this week, it go 4 innings and then get delayed and then the pitchers come out and then, it's no good. But if for some reason we do get it all clear on this game, you got to have a little bit interest in Garrett Cole. He's been pretty good this year. The Braves, of course, are not a good lineup without Freddie Freeman. So I think you have to have a little interest in Garrett Cole. And then on the other side, I think Fultonevich is interesting for a tournament dart. He hasn't been very good lately, but we've seen the upside in the past, and we know Pittsburgh isn't very good. So I don't think I'll go there. I certainly like J.C. Ramirez more, and I would probably even play Eichhoff before Fultonevich. But as a tournament dart, I could see it. On the batting side, I don't think any Braves for me. Like I said, Cole's been pretty good. And, the Pirates aren't a very good offense, but you'll certainly get them low-owned. And, we know that Fultonevich can get blown up. So, mini stacks, McCutchen, Josh Bell's been pretty good. Josh Harrison's had his moments this season. So I could see some Pirates here.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, let's dive into Garrett Cole tomorrow because I think that he might be the safest tomorrow. If you just look at his past right now, his last starts have been against Washington, Arizona, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Chicago. Those are his last 5 starts. Those are pretty decent offenses. Put up 37, 34, 46, 37, and 49 for FanDuel. So all of those are basically 3.5 times value, but you definitely need a cash game. So, and he's going up against an Atlanta offense that, like we said, does not have Freeman, and they seem to be struggling. Matt Adams went 0 for 4 today. So I really, really like Cole in this. I mean, he seems to be like very under the radar this year. There always seems to be better pitching options on the slate, but he has been so consistent. 2.84 ERA. He's under 10,000. So I might be all in. Definitely a cash game.
Really, I think it's interesting. Cole, assuming the weather, assuming we get a more clear forecast, I don't mind Cole in cash. I do think he's safe. My decision is going to be between him and somebody else because he's probably the guy who I would imagine in the best situation. Now, obviously, with Freddie Freeman out, it changes everything. Here's what I got on Cole. So he's slightly better at home. So that's not exactly a strong suit going to Atlanta, which is becoming a known hitter's park as we know it. His swinging strike rate over the last 2 years is 9.6%. That's not that impressive. Like some of these other strikeout guys you see, like you want to see around 12%. Like, DeGrom at one point this year was 17%. Like 9.9% isn't that strong. Now, in 2017, it's 9.9%. So it's still not really there. That's what bothers me about Cole whenever there's better pitchers on the slate. Now, this is a different slate. There's not as many of those options that you can just run. Now, one thing I will say is the Braves are striking out a ton. And I see that the Scotty over in the chat had mentioned that, yes, the Braves are striking out a ton this year, especially against righties, without Freeman specifically. And the Braves without Freeman, their team ISO is terrible. It's well below, I think it's below 150 or something like that. So I do think that Cole is one of the safer options despite the bad ballpark, as long as Freddie Freeman is out. I mean, they brought Matt Adams. I'm not really terrified of that. Don't get me wrong, it's still another lefty, but I'm not terrified. So yeah, I think there's a strong case for him. For tournaments, I will say with Fulton Evans, I don't like Fulton Evans. I never really have. Even when he was halfway decent, I just never really got into playing him. But I will say one thing: the Pirates' offense is pretty bad, and this park is favorable to lefties. But their lefties are Adam Frazier, Josh Bell, who I'll admit Josh Bell is good, and then John Jaso. So they really only have like two real solid lefties to play against this guy in this park. So. I don't mind Fulton Evans as like a well, what's his price on DraftKings? On FanDuel, he's too expensive. It's
7,500.
Oh my gosh, man, these guys. Okay, so forget it. I was thinking he was going to be low on DraftKings, and I was going to say that you can do that. But I definitely like Cole. I think he's safe. I don't know, like you said, Joe. We're gonna have to check tomorrow because depending on what lineup gets released, I want to look at the numbers again, and it's gonna like make my mind up a little bit. But yeah, I think I'm with you, man. I think Cole's one of the safer options on the slate. I do. Let's see. We got Ty Blotch of the lefty of the San Francisco Giants visiting John Lackey of the Chicago Cubs. As of right now, we don't know. Obviously, there's no Vegas out, but as of right now, the wind's blowing about 11 miles per hour out to center. So we're going to want to monitor that. When you wake up in the morning, if you see this total around 10, 11, or 12, then you'll know the wind is blowing out. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be another day where we're going to want to play the Cubs quite a bit. Ty Blotch is really bad. He doesn't strike anybody out. They're going to be hitting it, and they're going to be hitting it in the air, and it's probably going to go over the fence. So you got to love the Cubs here. You know, all the studs. You know, Chris Bryant and Zobrist and Ian Happ has been batting in the 4-hole a lot. Addison Russell, Contreras. You know, all these guys, and then on the other side, you know, Lackey's maybe a little bit interesting, but the Giants don't strike out a whole lot. And if the wind's blowing out, you know, but the Giants aren't very good. So Lackey is interesting. We're going to have to think about Lackey here, but I feel like I'm probably not going to end up going here because I like other spots better.
Yeah, I got that's fair. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I only have interest in maybe some of the Cubs bats, those one-offs. Obviously, you could always stack the Cubs. They could always go off. There's many ways you could stack them. They're one of the teams that bat the pitcher eighth, so you can have the 9-hitter as one of your stacks because he's definitely going to be cheaper. But yeah, it's definitely Giants. I just don't like playing because it's just the only basic player you like to play is Posey, but hang up for catcher is just that I don't like to do. So. Yeah, I'm pretty much Cubs bat, and that's it.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you guys. For the last few days, without an actual game going on at Coors, the Cubs, the wind has been blowing out pretty much every day, and they've kind of been the Coors for every slate, every cash game. If you don't play the Cubs and they go off, which they have, you're done. So this might be another situation with a limited amount of games where you might have to, at least in cash games, you might have to play the chalk here again. Which is going to be the Cubs. Which don't get me wrong. I think in cash games you want to play the chalk a lot of the time. You want to be able to keep up with the field and know that you're playing a guy where if he does, he's not going to kill you. You want to just pick your spots wisely, preferably your pitcher to pick the right one. But yeah, this is another spot I think against a lefty, especially where you're going to have your Chris Bryant at third base, Contreras a catcher, even though he's 3.2. Joe, I'm with you. I typically in GPPs especially, I like to punt catcher. It's just a position where you can typically find value. It's pretty easy to figure out who the chalky guys are going to be because there's usually only one or two obvious options at catcher that stand out. So I'm with you. But in cash games, you don't want to get too cute. So if you can afford it, you're going to want to probably get as many of these Cubs players in your cash games as you can. Ian Happ is only 3.3 on FanDuel. I would imagine he's going to continue to be chalky. Zobrist leading off, assuming he will. 3K on FanDuel. He hit a home run today, so I assume he's going to join the chalk parade here, and Hayward's back. So, I'm sorry, Hayward's a lefty. But Addison Russell, another guy. So, yeah, I think in cash games, the Cubs are your team. In tournaments, sure, you can play them, but, I think in tournaments, it's okay. Like, there's enough spots where you can find pivots elsewhere, even if it's not a full stack elsewhere. Like, you could find one-offs elsewhere to make up the difference. But, yeah, one-off in tournaments, I think, is a great idea, Joe. Let's see. Michael Fulmer of the Detroit Tigers visiting Brad Peacock of the Houston Astros. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, do we know anything about Brad Peacock? I remember him starting a little bit last year, but I don't think he has this year. No, this is his first start. So I don't know much about him, so I'm trying to figure it out real quick here on the run.
Well, I can tell you that in the last 2 years, calendar rolling, he's only had 6 starts. That's all he's had. During this time, Give me a sec here. He's averaged a 223 WOBA on at home, which isn't terrible. And his strikeout rate is really high. Again, this is at home. So of those 6 games, how many of them were at home? That's the question. So it's a very small sample size. But basically, it looks like whatever starts he had at home, he didn't do all that bad. That's what I'm seeing. But, again, you're comparing sample sizes of full-time players over the last 2 years to a guy that's got 6 starts in 2 years. So
right, yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna assume that he's not very good until I'm proven otherwise. And Detroit's been hitting the ball well. They didn't have a good night tonight, but they faced Yu Darvish. So I think the Tigers get back on it tomorrow. I like the Tigers a decent bit here. JD Martinez has been crushing the ball, so I like him. Alex Avila's I've played him a lot at catcher the last few days. He's been hitting like 2, they hit him one day, 4, they hit him. So Alex Avila will be interesting. He's been crushing it. And then on the other side, Michael Fulmer's a good pitcher, but I don't think I want to pitch anyone against Houston right now. They're not striking out, and they've been just pretty good in general. So I don't think I want to play Fulmer, but I also don't think I want Astros because he's, a pretty decent pitcher.
Yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it's hard to say anything different than what Matt says. It's Fulmer is usually a safe bet to get you a quality start, but Astros bats right now are just like hot, and his price is $9,700. Why I would go with him when you pull for $100 more? It just doesn't seem like the right play, and I just don't think the upside taking Fulmer to where you haven't been to where he could win because he'd be low owned going to help you that much. I don't think his ceiling is very high tomorrow. And I don't mind. I wouldn't even mind taking Astro bats for one off. You can obviously take JD Martinez for one off. I wouldn't stack. I guess you could stack Tigers now that I think more about it because you don't know much about Peacock. All you got to do. This is definitely another game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Fulmer is interesting. He's too expensive for the risk, right? Like on FanDuel, he's 9.7. Like maybe if he was like 7.2 or 7.5, or not that he would be. He's better than that. But if he was, then you'd be like, okay, maybe I'll consider him in a tournament. But at 9.7, like you're asking him for a lot here against a red hot offense. So another thing that's interesting is over the last 2 years, on the road, he's actually had reverse splits for some reason. I'm talking 241 to lefties and 321 to righties. Now that's over the last 2 years. That's his road games, his road game splits. So specific splits here, and the Astros, some of their best hitters are right-handed. So it's hard for me to feel comfortable rostering Fulmer there. On the other side, yeah, Peacock, man. Look, he looked good with 6 stars, whatever. That's not enough to me, man. You got to show me that you got something here. This is a hitter's ballpark at the end of the day. The Tigers still have, I'm seeing in the chat, JD Revenge Game. That was you, Joe. I just read yours. But yeah, before that, I saw somebody else saying JD. So I love JD Martinez. I was saying to Matt, he makes a huge difference in Detroit. We were just talking about it the other day. Yeah, man, I love the Tiger bats. And I like the bats on both sides, to be honest with you.
God, lots of bats on the slate.
Lots of bats.
It's actually, I think it's a good slate. Lots of good stuff to think about. I'm excited about it.
No. Yeah, man. I'm 100%, man. I'm with you. All right, here we go. Miguel Gonzalez of the Chicago White Sox visiting Zach Greinke of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Looks like we're going to have a 96-degree dry day.
The roof will be closed. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that. Yeah, this is an interesting game. You could, there's all sorts of angles you could play here. I think Arizona will be the chalkiest team of the day, even though there's tons of team to choose from. They have the highest team total, and Miguel Gonzalez isn't good. He doesn't strike anybody out, but he does do a decent job of keeping the ball on the ground. He does limit the hard contact. He doesn't give up too many home runs, but it's, like I said, it's really hard not to like Arizona here. And then on the other side, I think Zach Greinke will be the chalk pitcher of the day. He's been really good. He's been striking a lot of people out. We know Chicago's right-handed. We know they're not good against right-handed pitchers. So Greinke, I think, will be the chalk of the day, and for good reason. I'm a little hesitant. His price tag is pretty hefty on DraftKings, $12,000. And then, I've watched the White Sox the last couple games because I've stacked up Seattle, and Seattle's done nothing, and it's cost me money. But, the White Sox are hitting the ball pretty well. Jose Abreu looks really good at the plate, and a lot of these other guys, Avi Garcia looks good. So I think Greinke will be the chalk. I'm a little hesitant, but, I'm not going to talk you off of it for sure.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, that's my dilemma looking at it. I think if this was a week ago, Greinke would already be like just a lock in my cash. But over the past week, since the White Sox have been playing on the West Coast, and when it always seems like whenever teams are on the West Coast, we just seem to watch them more. I think Matt can attest to that too.
Yeah.
So they've been hitting the ball really well. So all the numbers still point picking Greinke. So it's one of those days I might just have 2 pitchers tomorrow with a little bit of Pineda, maybe at the most. But I don't know. Right now I'm leaning towards Cole cash game just because I think that the Braves lineup, weather permitting, of course. And that was another thing I thought about. Another reason why the Diamondbacks are going to be the chalk stack is because there is no weather concern. All the other places, like the Yankees, I would think might be higher, but there might be some weather. So, or the Cubs, it's just you just don't know. So you definitely know in Arizona, it doesn't matter, and they've been just crushing the ball, 1 through 4, and then you can even go further down with Owings and Drury. Blanco right now is just an awesome cash game salary relief player. So there's so many ways you can go. Peralta is so hot. Can't go wrong with Goldie. So Diamondbacks for sure. Ride them until they get cold.
Yeah. I like Greinke. I like Greinke a lot. I really do. And no, listen, I don't know for sure if I can make him my cash game guy because I don't know if he provides the safety that Cole maybe has. I think I might like Cole's safety better. Aside from the fact that he doesn't have any weather concerns, as you said, it's a hitter's ballpark, and you guys are right. The White Sox have been completely. They've been mashing up in Seattle, but they were faced. It's not like they were up against Paxton. You know what I'm saying? Like they had some pretty weak pitchers up there. So. You would think they crushed in Seattle, a pitcher's park. They're going to come to this hitter's park and they're going to mash, right? I wouldn't be surprised to see Greinke shut him down, man. Greinke's a guy that seems more comfortable when he's pitching in his home environment. Listen, his numbers over the last 2 years are a little skewed at home because he spent part of that in LA, which is a completely different atmosphere. But still, that's like a year up until now of him being in Arizona at home. And he's still holding it down, man. His numbers are pretty solid. His swinging strike rate is up this year, which I love seeing. So I'm not big on the White Sox. I get it if you want to go there because you want to be contrarian. I do think Greinke will be somewhat popular, obviously, because there's only a few pitchers on the slate. I think Pineda's ownership is gonna be a little higher than some people are thinking because of the fact that the Royals are bad and Pineda has. If you're looking at strikeout numbers, he's got a pretty high strikeout percentage, and people are big on that. And he's cheaper than Greinke, so. As of right now, I think Cole might be my safer option for cash. But in tournaments, man, I'll find a way to afford Greinke. I think there's enough value on here, at least on FanDuel. I'm talking. Listen, paying for what is he, 12K, Matt, on DraftKings?
Yeah, 12K.
That's crazy high. So I completely get it on DraftKings not wanting to go there. That's super high. But on FanDuel, it's not an option. You can still play the guys you want to play pretty much. I really like Greinke here. And I have no interest in the White Sox personally. But listen, I see some people in the chat are talking about a White Sox stat could be sneaky. I think it will be sneaky because regardless of whether people play Greinke or not, they're probably not going to target against him. That's something. So I think it makes sense. Now I think that Arizona and the Cubs are going to be your 2 chalky offenses here.
Yes.
I think that's pretty obvious, right? So here's the thing. Now everybody's going to stack both. But the combination, because the chalk has been hitting somewhat lately, the combination is going to be picking one of these stacks, whichever one is right, and then mixing up the rest. And that's probably going to be, and obviously hitting on your pitcher. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's all the games, man. So I think we're in a. Joe, would you agree with us that your 2 chalky stacks are going to be Arizona and the Cubs?
Yeah, weather permitting, I definitely agree with that. For
okay,
sure.
So Matt, you were saying you think Greinke's going to be the chalk pitching option, correct?
Yeah. Well, if the weather is 100% clear in New York, then Pineda might overtake him.
Right.
But if that game stays dicey as it looks now, then Greinke will be the overwhelming chalk, in my opinion.
No, you know what? You hit it right on the head because people don't like to take those risks, especially with pitchers. So if the weather clears up, yeah, Pineda because of his price. Joe, you have anything to add? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think the thing about Greinke is that his ceiling is probably the highest on the slate.
Yeah.
So that's why he's so good for GPPs. To where Cole, he might not get you 60. Greinke can, and the only other guy that can go with Greinke and get you maybe 50 or 60 is Pineda.
Yeah, right.
Agreed. I'm with you. So it's gonna be a fun slate, man. Listen, guys, if you want to find out, listen, this is Joe and Matt are looking at this with us, and myself. We're all looking at it for the first time, just like you guys. So if you really want to get an idea for what they're thinking, hit him up on Twitter. You can find Joe at Patio Joe Ref REF, and you can find Matt at Matt Amon 123. And they're not shy, man. You know, they come on the show, they talk to you guys, they're in the chat doing their thing and keeping me on track when I'm like getting a little out of it. So go ahead, reach out, man. They're cool. So it's time to play some Dong Watch. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and drop them in the box. We'll try to answer a couple before we get out. But in the meantime, while those are building up, we're gonna go ahead and play some Dong Watch here. So I forgot who went first last time. Matt, was it you?
Yeah, I think it was me.
All right, Joe. So that means we're gonna have you go first today. You ready to do it?
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
Chris Bryant.
Oh, that was quick. Wasting no time. All right, go ahead, Matt.
Mike Trout.
If only it wasn't a Trout. I'm gonna go with Lamb here. So it looks like we're taking like the all chalk team, I think here.
All chalk.
All chalk team right here, baby. But I'm going with Lamb, and then I think I get one more, and I'm going to. I don't want to take too many guys from that Arizona game because I'm not totally committed there just yet. So I'm gonna look here for one. Oh yeah, I think I want somebody from the Cleveland game here. I think I'm gonna go with Duval. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
All right, man. So,
brings me. I am going to go with JD.
Oh yeah, I like that one. Oh man, I like that one. All right, go ahead, Joe.
All right, I got two. I'm going with my double stack of the night. I'm going with Francisco Lindor and Joey Votto.
Ooh. All right, Matt, what you got?
All right. Oh well, I think the bats will at least play in this game. So give me the Judge.
Ooh, yeah, I like it, man. Bold, risky with weather, man. Risky with weather. I'm gonna go back to that Baltimore game, and I think against Ubaldo, I think I'm gonna go with Dozier. Maybe I'm gonna go with Dozier. Price ain't a thing, so why not go for one of the more expensive guys on the slate? Hey man, this was a blast. I don't see too many questions, but I see a lot of comments, which we always have some fun reading for sure. So, did you guys see anything that I missed, or are we good to get out of here?
I think we're good to get out. I mean, for me, I think there's plenty of good offenses tomorrow that you can fade the chalk. And like I said, Arizona is going to be chalky, and I always love Arizona. But I do think Miguel Gonzalez is at least good enough to keep him in check. And I think there's a lot of other good spots that I'm interested in. So don't be afraid to fade the chalk tomorrow. If you said, Matt, you can have Arizona and Chicago, or you can have everybody else, I would certainly take everybody else. So, don't be afraid to take a stand somewhere else.
Okay. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, tomorrow, the slate, I like it just because it's 9 games. Doesn't seem like there's too many overwhelming spots. I don't think that there's no Coors, and so I don't think that the scores will be as high. So you can maybe fade chalk like Matt says. I know I will have at least one Arizona team. I will not stop playing them until they get cool. So especially against a pitcher like Gonzalez, I'm not too high on him. So yeah, I like them, but I also like my game stack with the Indians and Reds, and then just individual little matchups here and there. And watch the weather, because you got to be on the weather tomorrow. It seems like the weather is so hard now these days. And get the lineups. I always think waiting for the lineups to come out. That's where you're going to find your value.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. I'm huge on waiting till lineups come out. Matt, it looks like we have a question for you there. Um, you want to go ahead and answer it for us here on the show? It looks like
Yeah. He, I am a problem asked. Is there credence maybe to taking
I believe
Peacock?
Matt. I believe it's Amma.
Sorry. I'm a problem asked. Is there credence maybe to gambling on like a Brad Peacock because he's so cheap and he gives you any of the bats you want? He asked me in DMs today if I would consider Tommy Milone, and I said, I wouldn't because I just think Tommy Milone is too bad. But there's certainly merit to firing up a Brad Peacock or Scott Feldman or even swallow heavy Ubaldo Jimenez. In a GPP when you're stacking up expensive offenses, we've seen it before. We saw it a couple days ago with I think it was Clevenger in Houston. Pitched a really good game at a really cheap price tag. So you see it. These guys can have good games, and they're in the big leagues for a reason. So I don't mind if you have the expensive stack, gambling on one of these cheaper options. But I want to say though real quick that I want to make sure that they have upside. They need to be able to strike people out. So like Kyle Gibson, a guy with a 10% strikeout rate, like I can't do it. Like they need to have potential. So I think that's what you're looking for.
Nailed it. Yeah, Joe, anything to add to that?
Yeah, every night or whenever I start to do my research, I look at the slate of pitchers and it's like I kind of go down. I'm like, okay, how far can I go down to where I'm like, okay, that's about as much as I can do. And like tomorrow will probably be JC Ramirez. So that's about as low as I can do. But last week, remember, I was all on Gaviglio at like 5,500. And he only lasted like 5 innings, but he got 3.5 times value and maybe get bigger bats. So you gotta see who they're pitching against too. The only reason why I like Gaviglio is because he was pitching against the White Sox. So
yeah,
by day it's different each day.
You're right, and a lot of it has to do with the opposing lineup. The pitching stats are important, of course, are the most important, but you got to know that the upside is there based off the other team and if they strike out at all. So, hey, man, I think you guys nailed it. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. This was an awesome show. Joe, it was your first live show, correct?
Yes, it was.
Hey, man, it was a blast having you on this side of the chat. It was definitely a lot of fun, man. Matt, great job as always, man. Joe, you've been killing it. I'm glad to have you a part of the team, brother.
Thank you. I'm proud to be a part of the team.
All right. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, please hit that like button. We appreciate you watching. We'd appreciate if you hit that like button as well. Subscribe to the channel. We're growing here. We have a nice little following. The chat is always a blast every time we do this. We love doing it. Joe, how was your first experience, real quick?
Oh, it's awesome. Dude, I love it because like I love the little comments. I love people asking questions. The other day somebody said, "Thanks for the call on Shaseen." That just meant so much to me because it's like my first egg going into this, and it's just so much fun.
That's
really
love it. That's awesome, man. So yeah, guys, keep with the feedback, man. And, show these guys you appreciate it, man. They come out here to try to help. So anyways, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Listening on Podbean, give us a follow. If you're listening on iTunes, leave us some more positive reviews. We're bumping up those charts, but we want to keep going. So subscribe also on iTunes for the audio version. We got big things coming up from WiseTake. We're working on the WiseTake model. We got a lot of exciting stuff that we're working on here that we're going to slowly, little by little, tell you more about it and eventually get a little place for you guys to get some updates. But anyway, guys, hey, thanks for watching. For those of you that are watching live, thanks, man. For those of you in the chat, we had a blast. Anyway, for Matt, for Joe, and myself, as always, good luck.
Peace.